Capital Team Tennis returning to Citrus Heights at the Sunrise Mall.
Ron Hyde is there live to explain why tonight's match features a major star sighting. Ron?
Hey, Dave and Lois, the wind is really gusting, probably 30, 35 miles per hour up here. I can just see it tonight. Gonna serve and... Actually, no, because this facility is constructed in such a manner, so judiciously constructed. But look, there's a leaf down there on courtside. It hasn't moved for 30 minutes. So the facility here really blocks any and all prevailing winds. This is All-State Stadium. Remember a couple of years we were talking about the team moving from Gold River Racket Club to a parking lot at Sunrise Mall. We laughed, we guffawed, we made fun of it. Actually, this venue is fabulous. It's a fabulous place to watch tennis. And tonight, 34-year-old Agassi, he of the 58 singles titles, 8 Grand Slam titles. Well, he belongs to Sacramento tonight for the 3rd straight year. And you know what? Andre Agassi absolutely loves the World Team Tennis format. Many tennis stars eschew the World Team Tennis format. Not Andre. He says he loves it. And you can tell when he's playing. He's always competitive, yet he's always a fun teammate. And tonight's match with St. Louis gets underway here from All-State Stadium at Sunrise Mall at 7:30, so we expect the crowd to start showing up about 6:45 or 7 o'clock. We expect a sellout here tonight, and we expect to hear from Andre in time for our 6:50 broadcast coming up in just a little bit. Dave and Lois, back to you.
Andre considered Ron not only one of the best tennis players in the game today, but one of the cruel gents.
There's no doubt about that. He's probably one of my top 5, and I've been in the business for X amount of years.
Oh, we won't go there anymore. All right, Ron, thank you.
You know, it's a great night for baseball. Of course, any night's a great night for baseball. And how do I know it's a great night for baseball? Well, I don't go anywhere, and you all know this, without my wireless temperature sensor. And you hold it up in the air like this, usually in the shade, and my reading is 82.9 degrees here on the third base side of Rayleigh Field, and it's pretty accurate. I don't mean to steal Patty Souza's thunder, but it's 82.9 degrees, at least according to my apparatus here. You know, they're taking batting practice behind me right now. Young man, could you shield me from any potential danger? Thank you very much. And as I pan to the... Oh! Gee! Out of the blue! Rivercats manager Bob Guerin starting his 3rd season. And before I leave you, I gotta take one more temperature reading here, if I may. 98.6. Back to you. Hey everybody, Ron Hyde from Rayleigh Field. Late information just handed to me. First pitch has now been rescheduled for 7:06, not 7:05 as we've been reporting. Rivercats year 3 getting started this season, 2002, their 3rd year in Sacramento. The team is 3-5 after an 8-game road trip to open the 2002 campaign. Sacramento Rivercats, what a success story. First 2 seasons they won division crowns, setting attendance records in minor league baseball, and the man largely responsible for that is the architect, the team owner, Art Savage, and we spoke to Art just a few minutes ago. Game 3 will be played in Utah, and Game 4 in Utah. That's not what the Kings wanted. And as the crowd files out of Arco Arena tonight, you're hearing catcalls about poor officiating. And when you start complaining about the officiating, you know you need to look at yourself in the mirror, because if the officials become a factor, Utah's in your head. And this game tonight, the loss by the Kings, as much a function of the way Utah wanted to play as it was the Kings' poor effort. So, Game 3, Saturday at Utah on NBC. Series is tied at 1. Standard operating procedure for owner Al Davis. Hire a guy with no NFL head coaching experience, lowball him, below market value. He either fails and you boot him, or he does well and you run him out of town.
There you go.
Good luck, Mr. Callahan. The Raiders have a successor to John Gruden. Late this evening, offensive coordinator Bill Callahan was bumped up to the main gig. Several of the team's star players lobbied for Callahan's promotion in order to foster a seamless transition after Gruden's departure to Tampa Bay. A press conference will take place tomorrow. A unanimous decision for boxer Mike Tyson out of the ring, which could allow him to get back into the ring. The Washington, D.C. Boxing Commission voted 3-0 tonight to give Tyson a boxing license, perhaps setting up a June 8th fight with Lennox Lewis at the MCI Center. The state of Tennessee has also given Tyson a license, and the city of Detroit might also be in the running to host a Tyson-Lewis bout. Kings are 2-0 on their 5-gamer and will play at Philadelphia tomorrow night. Tonight, the Sixers were at the New York Knicks, and Latrell Sprewell with a drive and he puts it down. The Knicks built a 20-point lead. Sprewell had 27 points. Third quarter action, off a steal and a loose ball. Allen Iverson dunks it, 35 points for league MVP Iverson. Then off a steal, Iverson, the behind-the-back pass to Derek Coleman, who finishes. He had 20. Philadelphia rallies to beat the Knickerbockers, 104-96. Shaquille O'Neal says he'll likely undergo surgery on his ailing arthritic big toe after the season. That could cause him to miss some playing time next year. O'Neal pegs the possibility he'd have surgery at over 80%, but says he won't make a decision until after this season. Lakers home to Charlotte tonight. Rick Fox shaved his head. He has hair. He's not bald. He just shaved his head. Big difference. Fox feeds Shaq for the jam. 9 points, 10 rebounds for Shaquille. And look at the speed that Fox gains by virtue of shaving that head. He had 12 points tonight. Lakers rout Charlotte, 107-66. A play-in game. Siena and Alcorn State tonight. The winner makes the NCAA tournament. Siena's Mark Price, the steal, the drive, the lay-in, 39-36. Siena at half. More Siena second half. Prosper Karwanga hits the three. Siena wins, and they're tournament bound after the 81-77 victory. Barry Bonds had his second homer of the spring, but the Giants fall short against Milwaukee 11-7, while the A's knocked off the Angels 4-3. Once one of the most promising prospects in baseball, Ruben Rivera was placed on unconditional release waivers by the New York Yankees today after being accused, get this, of taking a bat and glove from teammate Derek Jeter's locker. Rivera allegedly sold Jeter's bat and glove to a sports memorabilia agent for $2,500, and the Yankees didn't hesitate and cut him loose. 40th birthdays are hard enough without getting thrown behind bars. That's how former baseball star Darryl Strawberry is spending his birthday. Florida authorities say Strawberry broke a rule at the drug treatment center where he had been serving an 18-month sentence. Strawberry's been kicked out of the drug treatment program, but a probation officer says he did not test positive for drugs. The Iditarod belongs to Martin Buser for the fourth time, and he did it in record time. He ran the 1,100-mile race from Anchorage to Nome in 8 days, 22 hours and 46 minutes. That's the first time the race has been completed in less than 9 days. Buser's been taking part in the race for the past 15 years. President Bush honored the nation's champions in college sports. The president met with the top teams in the NCAA at the White House today. The teams included University of Miami football and baseball, University of North Carolina men's soccer, Santa Clara women's soccer, Stanford women's volleyball, Arizona women's softball, and the University of Kentucky cheerleaders. And there's rumor around that Irina Slutskaya of Russia is upset she wasn't invited because she won a fake gold medal. Until Muhammad Ali came onto the scene, heavyweight boxing had never seen a champion like Max Baer. In and out of the ring, Madcap Maxie, as he was known, was a showman and an entertainer, and an icon in Sacramento sports history.
And here's the new heavyweight champion. How are you going to walk, Max?
I'm going to walk like my old pal Dempsey when he was champion. Show you how, Ansel.
In the summer of 1934, Max Baer, boxing's most flamboyant and charismatic character, knocked down Italian giant Primo Carnera 11 times during their title fight to become the 13th heavyweight champion of the world. He blended style with substance, quite possibly laying the blueprint for a certain future heavyweight who would one day proclaim himself the greatest of all time.
And Ali says, well, hey, he's copying me. He's copying me. And then he said, well, wait a minute, he was before me. Maybe I'm copying him.
While a Carnera fight made him a champion, Baer's previous fight made him a hero. A year earlier, he fought Max Schmeling of Germany. Baer's grandfather was Jewish, so Max's manager Ansel Hoffman convinced Baer to wear the Star of David on his trunks, thus pitting Baer against Hitler's favorite, Schmeling.
My dad wasn't an Orthodox Jew, but Ansel Hoffman took this young kid of 23, 24 years old and convinced him that he represented the Jewish people.
When the underdog Baer knocked out the German favorite at Yankee Stadium in front of 60,000, he became a hero to the Jewish community worldwide. Even the U.S. Postal Service issued a Max Baer stamp with the Star of David on it.
Jack Dempsey paid my dad the best compliment he'd ever been paid. He said that at that time, the night that my dad beat Max Schmeling, he could have beat any of us.
He also proved that he was a great fighter, a third gentleman in and out of the ring, and one of the greatest fighters the American public has ever had, if not the greatest. And I predict that Max will be champion for a long time to come.
Bear lost his world title to Cinderella man James Braddock in 1935. And as his career wound down, Bear settled in Land Park, where he and wife Mary raised their 3 children.
There's stories going around about the 3 little pigs. This is the first picture taken of the 3 little bears. Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and little Cubby Bear.
During the 1940s and 50s, Bear continued his film career. He hosted a radio show called Time for Max and did some work for a car dealership, all the while entertaining Sacramentans everywhere he went.
Everybody knew him as Max. Everybody'd wave at him. He'd, drive down in a convertible with his shirt off, and, he's always tan. Whether he was at the grocery store or going down to the state capitol, he'd walk in the state capitol with his shirt off. I mean, he was a character.
Suddenly, in November of 1959, the worlds of boxing, Hollywood, and Sacramento lost one of the most colorful characters when at age 50, Max Bear died of a heart attack.
When we were driving down, following the hearse, going out to St. Mary's Cemetery, there were people lining the streets, waving goodbye and saluting my father. Joe Louis and Jack Dempsey were pallbearers.
Nearly a half-century after his death, Max Bear is still contributing to the Sacramento community. A heart fund in his name has raised millions. In the South area, a neighborhood park honors our city's heavyweight champion.
He had the kindest, gentlest soul, loved everyone.
In all, Bear finished his career with a 72-12 record. He's one of only a handful of heavyweights with at least 50 knockouts. In 1968, he was inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame. Combine those credentials with Bear's show business pedigree, some 20 movie roles, numerous radio and TV appearances, and you've got one of the brightest stars to ever grace the Sacramento scene. And I don't think we're overstating it by saying he truly was of the stature of a Babe Ruth or Muhammad Ali.
There's so few people are larger than life legitimately, not manufactured, but just are the real thing.
Max Bear qualifies.
And again, so unfairly portrayed in the movie Cinderella Man.
Yes, sir.
All
yes,
right.
ma'am.
Ron, thank you. We'll be right back. Well, an injured ankle has kept Kings star Chris Webber from taking the court so far this season.
But off the court, one of his biggest passions makes history every day. In fact, it is history. KCRA-3 sports director Ron Hyde has more.
You really don't know where you're going until you see where you've been or where you come from.
To Chris Webber, history isn't confined to the dates and details we all learned in the classroom. It lives with him in a valuable and passionate collection he owns. Historical documents, pictures, letters, books, postcards, chronicling the struggles of African Americans.
These pieces inspire me. Some of these guys have sloppy handwriting. Some of these guys looks like they wore funny clothes or whatever, but when it comes down to it, we're all human and we all can make a difference.
One of the centerpieces of Chris's collection is actually older than the United States itself. It's a first edition book of poems written by Phyllis Wheatley, a Nigerian girl kidnapped by slave traders. She was sent to America and sold to a family in Boston. There, she taught herself English, Latin, and Greek while still a child. Wheatley's volume of poetry, published in 1773, is a landmark piece in American literature.
The first book written by an African-American woman and the second novel published by a woman, period. So it's so old, you really can't even touch the pages on that. I just admire her for being self-taught and really not having all the excuses in the world but not making any, and just learning and picking herself up by her bootstraps.
It would be 56 years before another black American published a work of literature.
My name is Frederick Douglass. I am the son of a slave and a white man.
Frederick Douglass basically was a martyr for us. He was self-taught as well, and when he died, one thing that's special about having these pieces, when he died, they burned his house with all of his works. So these are the few pieces that are left of his legacy, and actually just to see the handwriting of a man who taught himself how to write to me is something special.
Weber's collection also includes pieces from two men whose lives began in slavery and ended in the 20th century. Booker T. Washington, author and educator who founded the Tuskegee Institute, a teacher's college in Alabama, as well as the famed scientist George Washington Carver.
We all come from backgrounds where there are a lot of obstacles in our way, but if we can look at people like Booker T. Washington or George Washington Carver, that none of us can compare our lives and our start-off point to theirs. And, you know, we all have excuses, but we shouldn't pay attention to them. We should overcome them.
From the Civil Rights Movement, postcards written by Malcolm X to his biographer, Alex Haley, and signed pieces from Martin Luther King Jr. round out the core of a growing collection C-Web hopes will educate and inspire, especially youngsters.
Because there's so many stories from different people's races, different people's religions, different people's beliefs. That really I just want stories and pieces from history to uplift people and to encourage people.
Ron Hyde, KCRA-3 Sports.
Closer together.
KCRA-3 Sports Director Ron Hyde joins us live from Raleigh Field to explain, Ron.
Well, finding a bat in the attic usually conjures up frightening images and scary movies. But it's quite the contrary for one local family, because this bat is a baseball bat, and as it turns out, one of the most significant finds in Sacramento sports history.
It was an adrenaline rush that you seldom get.
Doug and Melinda Dahl of East Sacramento have been on an adrenaline high that's lasted several weeks because they've discovered and brought back to life an old forgotten baseball bat that's been in their family longer than anyone can remember.
And it's nice to just, be able to share it with the world a little bit, rather than kind of a shame when I think about it, that it's been in an attic for that long when it has, such significance to, baseball history.
The bat in question is so old, it predates the very first World Series by nearly 4 decades. And 27 U.S. presidents have come and gone since this bat was used during an event called the World's Baseball Tournament in Detroit on October 9th, 1867.
It was like I was on a treasure hunt. I had the treasure, but I didn't know the background. And so each step got us closer, and it's such a gift.
That gift originally belonged to the tournament's champion pitcher, J.L. McCord, who in the 1880s moved to Sacramento, where he lived on N Street across from the Capitol. When a heart attack cut his life short in 1898, McCord was laid to rest here in his adopted hometown. The Sacramento Union remembered him as a highly esteemed citizen, having many friends. One of those friends was a native son, Fred Pearl, an early public address announcer of the old Sacramento Solons, who eventually took ownership of McCord's bat. Pearl's son-in-law, now 89, is just learning about his father-in-law's hidden treasure.
I think it's amazing. I never had seen it, to my memory, until Melinda and Doug brought it over to show me here less than a month ago.
For the past 75 years, the corner attic of this quiet bungalow on an unassuming side street of East Sacramento has been home to McCord's historic bat. That's because Fred Pearl moved into this house way back in 1930. 3 generations of his family and that old bat have lived here ever since.
And then it had some cloth that it was wrapped in to keep it protected. And basically it was just here for decades and decades and decades.
Shortly before his death in 1970, Pearl gave the bat to his grandson Doug, who was soon bound for the Navy. So the bat was put away and forgotten again. 30 years later, after Doug and his wife inherited and remodeled the home, McCord's bat resurfaced, and Melinda championed the effort to tell its story.
It's pulled our family together to talk about things that we wouldn't have talked about. And these people are getting up in age. So we've got information we would have never had because this bat came down out of that.
Now, coming up tomorrow night at 6, we'll tell you where the bat is headed, why it's heading there. We'll also hear some reaction from River Cats players and manager Tony DeFrancisco, and we'll talk to some fans about that bat. That's coming up tomorrow night at 6. Back to you.
That was going to be my question, but I guess we won't spoil the tease.
Ron. Thank you. We'll be right back.
So, what's on tap? Well, before the Kings hit the road to Spur Country or try to beat Shaq to see who's best in the West, the Pacific champs know what's at stake against the Texas club. The Kings have been able to step up, raise the bar, and to any observer, their system has been sweet. For the Texas club, they need to shift gears, step up, and close the gap. It's of paramount importance. The Kings seem to have the Texas club in the palm of their hand, but it's no lock. It's only one win. The Texas club could step up as a last resort, and it wouldn't be so sweet. FYI, it's wide open. Tonight it could be Kings 120, the Texas club 100, or it could be the Texas club 102, the Kings 100.
Just by winning one game doesn't win the series, and that's what the fans and the media don't know. Just because we played a good game in game one, we know these guys are capable of coming back and beating us on any given night, and can tie the series up tonight. So we want to come out and play our best basketball so that don't happen tonight.
And now this observer inside the AA will see if the Kings or the Texas club step up. Hey guys, in covering events of this magnitude, we run across all sorts of people, interesting people, uninteresting people, disinterested people, cool people, annoying people. Today we ran across two great people with two great stories to tell.
Yeah?
Excuse me, ma'am. Pardon me for staring.
I don't mind, I'm enjoying it.
I'd like you to meet the Mrs. October. 87-year-old Jessie Foyle from Philadelphia has attended every World Series since 1964. The proof, she's wearing it. Her coat makes quite a passion statement. Her love of baseball courtesy of her father.
My father used to take me to ball games here, there, and everywhere. So the rest of my family didn't share the enthusiasm for baseball that I did. But to this day, I think my father would be happy that I'm such a baseball nut.
Jessie's a seasoned World Series veteran, and she once had a chance meeting with a World Series legend, Reggie Jackson.
I said, Reggie, do you know we have something in common? He said, we do. I said, yes, we do. I said, you're called Mr. October. And I said, I'm called Mrs. October. And I said, not only that, you're from Philadelphia, and I'm also from Philadelphia. He said, well, that is something. And he was real nice.
Jessie's most unforgettable moment?
My favorite was when the Phillies won the World Series, and that was in 1980.
Jessie was also at Game 3 in '89 when the earth moved.
That was a scary situation because I'd never been in an earthquake before, but we could see the great big robust heavy-set men with tears rolling down their cheeks, hugging one another, and the wives of the players were running off their seats and running onto the field into the arms of their husbands. It was really scary.
As for this series?
I'm a National League rooter normally, but I have to go with the Anaheim Angels this year.
Then we ran into 74-year-old John Parker. He's attended every World Series since '62, but he didn't have a ticket for tonight. A good Samaritan, an angel perhaps, saw John's World Series ticket collection, was so impressed the person gave John a ticket for tonight's game.
So he said, "You in." So I am happy because this is my 40th year going to the World Series.
John didn't have a rooting interest until this benevolent angel of mercy made his day.
Tonight, all of my friends are for the Anaheim Angels, so I'm rooting for these people tonight.
Wonderful. And there you have it. Happy endings are not just made for television. Or are they? We'll have a report on Game 2 of the World Series tonight coming up at 10 and 11. Reporting live from Anaheim, Ron Hyde, KCRA-3 reports.
Great stuff.